Theo and Natasha Thiesling consider themselves among the lucky ones. They lost everything when their two-storey Cedar farmlet burnt to the ground, but unlike many of their neighbours, they still have their lives.
Other people in the street, I believe, haven't made it, so we're quite happy and quite lucky, so we can rebuild this.
The young parents managed to escape minutes before their factory road home was engulfed by flames, and despite desperate pleas from their neighbours not to leave.
As I was leaving, I saw the first ember on the ground. Within 2 minutes of us leaving, the flames come over that ridge like a wave. This is all that's left of what was once the Coligny Hall. It was here in this tight-knit Gippsland community that more than half of the 21 people confirmed dead in the area perished in the blaze.
It was a tragic loss. They're important people. They may be part of, well, they probably are, part of CFA, part of the community hall.
Dozens of homes have been lost in the area, many of them belonging to volunteers. Sadly, many residents weren't prepared.
We had a fire-ready meeting here just before Christmas. I think I had about 12 people who came.
It was a similar story in Tarrogin South, where more homes were lost.
4 weeks ago we put out 300 flyers and only 2 people bothered to turn up. A further 2 weeks later we sent another 300 flyers to come to a bushfire survival program. 1 additional person turned up.
But here too there are miraculous stories of mateship and survival.
It was an inferno. Without their help we would have all died. It was, really, it was a sustained 2 hours of hell. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Partial roadblocks remain in place, with access available only to residents.
Looking behind me, you'll see a fairly large tree on the road. Now, those trees can fall at any time, and until we get a chance to go into a fire-affected area and push those trees over and make them safe, they are a real hazard.
Brooke Van Newton, Win News.
In Victoria's time of need, it was a case of all hands on deck at the Longwarry staging area.
You're going to give me some advice here? Is that all right?
Party politics were put aside today as state and federal leaders surveyed parts of fire-ravaged Gippsland firsthand, while a CFA briefing to the Premier showed the area was not out of the woods yet.
Fire's actually got 65 kilometres of private land edge, and currently there is about 22 kilometres of fire edge in the bush to the north, with 2 reasonably hot spots.
The politicians paid tribute to the CFA crews who have been battling the blaze in Bunyip State Park.
I don't think the state could have asked for more from all of its firefighters and from all of its volunteers and from everybody who contributed.
It's in these times, the worst of times, that we really see what the CFA means to each and every one of us.
And the heroism that you have displayed, it is truly humbling.
So many of you who are truly heroes. I mean, the term is used often, but by Jove, it's in these circumstances that we see the fact of it.
Since the horror unfolded on Saturday, Mr Brumby says the state government has been working through response issues, particularly with 000 calls and a centralised warning system. He says all will be looked at in a royal commission. The Premier said the rebuilding of fire-devastated communities would take a long time, adding that the state government would take a look at leading the way for tougher building codes.
There are going to have to be tougher arrangements in place, as I said before, tougher building codes. I think there are going to need to be stronger fire protection measures built into house design, and I think we're going to need some more protection in those areas in the future.
Mr Brumby and Ms Gillard called in at the Tarrogin Relief Centre as they continued their tour of the Gippsland fires. David Woywood, Win News. The small town of Jindervik, north of Druin in Gippsland's west, today was battling the hangover from the inferno that claimed so much. Despite properties lying in ruin on the outskirts of the town, this story has a silver lining. Early radio and internet updates reported Jindy Cheese had burnt down.
Yeah, I heard those reports also, but obviously we were cut off here. The phones went dead pretty quickly, and I guess, families and so forth started ringing straight away, but yeah, obviously we're not burnt down. The factory's still here, so we're pretty happy about that.
The fire couldn't have come any closer without inflicting damage to the district's major employer.
The fire was travelling in a southwestward direction past us here, and the wind turned west on us, and within about 4 or 5 minutes we were engulfed in fire here.
And thanks to the efforts of a few, the factory survived.
I stood facing the fire. We just waited to see whether or not any embers fell around the factory. and we just wanted to make sure we could defend it best we could.
The roads into Jindavick were open today for the first time since fire ripped through the area.
We're asking that the roads do be used just for locals, not sightseers at this stage, because the farmers are very busy getting the fences back up. We still haven't got the school open. There's still a lot of shell-shocked locals around.
And the toll is still being counted.
Our best information is that we're a little less than 20 houses. We don't know exactly, and that won't be certain for some time.
David Woywood, Win News.